And we welcome you into yet another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak Lube in beautiful State College as the students have returned. Busy little weekend here in the Valley.
It's just a fantastic idea to close down College Ave at Beaver Ave and Atherton because of the sewage issue. Just a perfect time of year to do that.
Yep.
There was like 7 people in town the last 3 weeks. We couldn't have closed it then down there. They waited for school to start, and then they shut down College in Atherton and Beaver. Good job. My nephew got to town. He lives over, on that side of town. He came over for dinner last night. He said it took him 40 minutes to get to my house.
Yeah, if
that's insane.
If you don't know that it's there,
yes, if you get caught up in your trouble. There's ways around that now that he knows.
Yes, but if you get caught in it, it's
and that's gonna be like that way for a while. I think it goes from Park down to Beaver on Atherton is closed down.
Yeah,
that's insane. It's like closing Interstate 95 on a Friday night in Washington, D.C. And no one's using that road then.
That's the worst gonna happen.
But it's good to see the kids back. I mean, it stinks, but I usually just tell. I mean, I got here, I had lunch earlier, and I was like, "How was your guys' weekend?" And there was a couple of guys who were cooks here, a couple of girls that were waitresses, and they were like, "Well, we absolutely got our asses kicked, but it's a good thing because we all have money in our pocket now, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's what you need. You need people coming back." And I was like, "Well, it's good that they're coming in from the outside. People who bring their kids to town, they know where to get the wings now."
Yep. And there is a different energy, I will say. You can feel it. I had opportunity to fill in for the public address announcement Saturday night, and then the women's game, which was delayed by a couple of hours, Sunday afternoon. Nothing like hanging out with absolutely nothing to do for a couple of hours while you wait out a thunderstorm.
Was there even a press box, or would you go to your car? Or
no, we just stayed in the press box.
Okay, you had cover at least.
Yeah, so, and congratulations to
both the team looks.
The women's team is going to be good. That is a senior-laden squad, and coach is pretty decent.
Not bad. They want to keep her around.
Yeah, that program is going to be good for quite a while. But I think this has a chance to be a pretty special year if they can get a few things together. It was actually Duquesne, I will say, and a soccer aficionado I am not, but I will say Duquesne and both teams played 2 goalies, but the game, I think, ended up, I think it was 3-0. It could have easily been 7-8. There were some terrific stops by each of the goalies that played for Duquesne. I mean, like really good stuff. But and their defense was actually pretty solid. They just had very little possession of the ball. Penn State's ability to control the ball was impressive, albeit against, obviously.
I did see the women's, they're projected 1 in the Big Ten. Men's are up there, but not.
Yeah.
Men's in the spring, right? Or are they both in the fall?
No, they're both fall.
Okay.
Yeah. Penn State football, 9 days away from the season opener at Purdue, and I do think the closer we're getting to it, you just can't help but to start getting excited and looking at the possibilities. And again, I think that opening, we'll call it the first full weekend of action next weekend, not this coming one. Obviously, there are some games on the schedule, as you pointed out last week, this coming weekend. But just curious to see how a few teams look and get out of the gate, including Penn State. Obviously, I think this is, as we've talked about, it's not a pivotal season in terms of James Franklin's status here. But I do think another subpar season, and the natives start to get very restless.
He's definitely got heat on him right now because he needs to earn contract that everybody is so upset about.
And when you combine it with the disappointing results of the last couple of seasons, the recruiting classes, and I don't know if you saw Ron Cook's column. It was an interesting column on I'm forgetting exactly how it was phrased, but it was looking at the Penn State Pitt programs, and it was something to the effect of this year's Pitt team is clearly better than Penn State, but the long-term program prospects are better for Penn State. And
I still don't see it.
Yeah, but you can make the argument. It's not a crazy notion to state that with Pitt coming off an ACC championship and Penn State was back-to-back disappointing seasons, and with no head-to-head comparison. Again, there's no way. But Cook points out, obviously, that competing in the ACC a little different.
Yes,
than competing
it's 6A football versus a 3A football
in the Big Ten. Yeah, but I think when you look at the quarterback play, with Pickett the last couple of seasons, it was an interesting column, just kind of looking at the state of the two programs, and Cook acknowledges in there that there's no question that the long-term prospects for one program in Happy Valley are significantly better than the other. If for no other reason, then again, you're just in the right conference right now for when it comes to the money and the exposure and everything else that is in play.
Facilities, everything is being upgraded here at Penn State. Facilities are going to lead to obviously more recruits, better looking. Your facilities. This is not a world for you or I, Ironhead, where you and I weren't really enamored by all the facilities and stuff like that. You wanted to go to when I got recruited, I wanted to go to a place that it meant something. So, that's why I chose Penn State, where some guys now it's like, what are you doing for me? And with that being said, there's a lot more that Penn State can do for you than Pitt in the coming future.
Yeah, I'm not. I think
it was a very good article, and he spelled it out right.
Yeah.
But head to head, I don't think there's really.
Well, the one thing I will say that because the headline, which is supposed to get you fired up, I'm like, oh, give me a break, Pitt.
Of course.
But then the one thing that I think he did a really good job of breaking down and explaining was the line play. And it is hard to argue that Pitt has not had better line play, regardless of the conference and all of the other aspects of both programs. That is still, until this offensive line starts to produce with some sort of consistency. It is going to be a legitimate black mark used against the Penn State program. And
think that
you just got to take care of business.
This being the same issue we've had probably 5 running years now.
Yep.
And it's not like the staff and James aren't out trying to remedy this.
Right.
They've just struck out multiple times with these guys, in my opinion. Or they're playing them too young.
Yeah.
And they're getting beat the crap out of, and they don't recover confidence-wise. That's the word we always say.
Yeah.
But, I'm just going to repeat myself. I have how many times now. It's if you expect freshmen to come into your program and play on the offensive line in your first year, you are not doing a good job as recruiters and coaches.
Yeah.
If you're expecting kids to come in. Now, what James does is he uses the transfer portal and the junior college route almost like a secondary recruiting. That is their main recruiting, and going after proven players to go out and play. And that's how he's got to fill those gaps in with the offensive line. It's not a long-term solution, but to get to the next level, you need to have some kind of solution, because what they were doing was just not working. Again, we've been having the same argument for a long, long, long time. How many O-line coaches does James have? He's had 3 in 7 or 8 years, 8 seasons, 3 offensive line coaches. Bill had 2. We had in 9 years we had 5 different offensive line coaches, or 10 years. We've had 5 O-line coaches. That's not good for the health of the program, and getting your guys learning your way, and playing the way the coach wants you to play. So this will be our second year with the guy right now. Huge improvements needed, obviously. I mean, we're not talking about anything we don't know. Or our fans don't know, and it's glaring. I mean, when everybody on the outside, that's like the main concern about Penn State is the offensive line playing. It has been for so long, and it's like this needs to be fixed. And I think that they've done as well as they can do right now, but they go out against Purdue and get their heads beaten a little bit. Then confidence is going to go down, and they might feeling some pressure from fans and stuff like that. And that's never good.
Yeah, and I think this season is a pivotal one in terms of just that feeling within the fan base. And again, I think probably need to get to at least 8 wins, but I think more important than the win total is just kind of how this thing finishes up and the style of play. Because I do think as we get closer to the season, because I don't think the expectations, I mean, obviously Penn State's not ranked, so nationally the expectations aren't that great. But I don't think within the fan base, and especially when you look at the recruiting classes that have been coming in, the expectations are not that great or haven't been going in over the summer. But I think as we get closer, Goon, people are talking just what you're talking about. And to me, there are a few things, again, that are playing together that I think the expectations should be pretty high for this team. Again, the recruiting classes and the talent coming in, the fact that you do have this offensive coaching staff, the key components of it together for a second year with a veteran quarterback, right? With a quarterback now who
very veteran.
Yes, who has seen it all and then some, and needs to stay healthy and go out and show what he's capable of doing. But I think that, along with the Manny Diaz factor, which I think has people within the program for sure, and I think even outside excited about, all right, let's see what this defense can do with a lot of young talent, but also some veteran leadership as well, especially in the secondary. And then I think, again, I keep going back to the schedule, Goon, and I know you have a couple of big road games early in the season, but these are not road games. To me, Wisconsin, I mean, that was a huge mountain to climb to open up last season.
Yeah.
Purdue is not that caliber of game.
No.
Dangerous for sure at night, and I'm not trying to.
I think they have enough time to
downplay
prepare and be ready for it.
Yes, the significance of winning any conference game, especially at night on the road. I mean,
I'm okay, man. I'm okay with the Purdue game, to be honest with you. I think that James opens up very, very well.
But I think, and Auburn, again, anytime you get a road game in the SEC, it's a challenge. But this is not, again, an Auburn team that is going to be contending for SEC or national championships this year. So that these are two, again, very winnable games. I don't think either game holds the weight in terms of national perception. I mean, we've talked about if Penn State goes out and looks great against Purdue and wins it handily, yes, I think that you can make a statement relative. And same thing with Auburn. No matter what the score is, if you go into an SEC school and win on the road, that is a good win to get early in the season. But both of those games, again, to me, bordering on the you should win, not just win a bowl, but the games that you should win, even on the road. And if Penn State takes care of business there, again, good. I think that this team sets itself up very nicely for the opportunity to be a team that a lot of eyeballs will be on in mid-October when you hit the real meat of the schedule this season.
Bowling up yet?
I want to see how this team looks.
I'm all right.
I think there's a lot of reasons for optimism. And the more we've talked about it, good. I just the leadership on this team, I just think is a big deal.
So I have Booch looking up right now.
Yeah,
was Pitt ranked last year to begin the season because Kenny Pickett came out of nowhere. I'm sorry, but Kenny Pickett was really much a nobody this time last year, right?
Yeah, I mean he had made some noise. I mean, he was one of those quarterbacks to watch. I mean, I don't know that people.
So who I compared him to Kerry Collins and Joe Burrow. These guys who were okay their first couple of years, and then they had these huge senior years, and they elevated them to, high NFL picks. And I mean, where, Joe Burrow is right now and where KC was, but Kenny Pickett, I mean, he's doing great right now with your Steelers. And I think that Sean could be that guy. I mean, he has the ability to be that guy. And we've known this. We just got to keep him healthy. And if we can keep him healthy, I think that maybe he plays well, because again, when we were super bullish last year was when he was playing well, and then that hit against Iowa just knocked us so far back.
But even then, I will say that the thing that still needs – I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but this team has to be able to run the football.
True.
And even last year, I mean, going in as bullish as we were, it was like, yes, but at some point you knew that they were going to need some tough yards in a big game, and you didn't have faith even early on last year with the way that thing was playing out that they would be able to get that. And I that is still something that needs to be
proven.
Proven before you start feeling comfortable that, okay, this program can take that next big step forward and get to where it was talking about before the COVID seasons hit and everything went to pieces. Because I mean, at that point, right? I mean, we were talking and rightfully so about Penn State. Okay, can it break into kind of that top 4 or 5 tier instead of being in that second?
Like James said, 5 years ago, we're not elite yet.
Right.
We haven't taken that step to become that elite. And they've been begging for Penn State to become that team to take over the mantle from Ohio State. But Ohio State's not giving it up. And then Michigan proved last year that they have a pretty good damn handle of what's going on and what they need to do too.
And listen, I mean, and I get it. If you're going to be competing in the biggest stage, you're going to be comparing yourself, right, properly so, to the Ohio States of the world. But I will say, I've read a couple of previews, talking about, Franklin's lost, whatever it is, 5 straight now with Ohio State. And again, it's fair to point out, but what teams exactly is it that you think are lighting the world on fire against Ohio State? I mean, it's not like you go back over those last 5 years and that there's a Big Ten team that has a winning record against Ohio State, right? Like that doesn't exist. So, I get it. And yes, to be where this program wants to be under James Franklin, that is the program that you have to measure yourself against. But it's the same thing as the SEC, right? Like, Georgia, even after the national championship, if you compare over the last 5 years, right? Like, it's Alabama.
Still Alabama.
And Georgia's record is only, as is everybody else's. And, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, I mean, those programs, you can't just compare to that. Now, if you look at the record against Michigan State and Michigan, you delve a little further, that's not great either. So that there's still, again, work to be done. No way around that for Penn State to, again, be where it wants to be in the overall scheme of things. And I think that this, again, is a season that it has to at least take steps that make it clear that they're getting closer to that. And in some ways, Goon, though, because I think this is a critical year, maybe to even close the deal on that, because next year you do have a lot of young talent, and I know, there are people that are already sold that Drew Aller. I actually was reading one preview piece. It's a lot of interesting to see how long James Franklin waits to pull the trigger on the start of the Drew Aller, as though it's a given. Almost like they were looking at Drew Aller the way the Steelers are looking at Steelers fans are looking at Kenny Pickett, and I'm like, listen, I'm excited about Aller, and I'm all in on hoping that this guy is big time, but that's quite a stretch to say that it's just a matter of time until he starts this season, right? But so presuming that he doesn't start this season and that it is Clifford's job throughout the year, as good as he is, you're hoping, it's still going to be a first-year starting quarterback next year. And the Big Ten, there have not been a lot of first-year starters that have gone out and, lit the world on fire. Not saying it can't be done, and not saying that they don't have a guy that can do that. But there will be question marks going into next year for sure about how that's going to play out. And you're also going to have, again, some other key senior leaders that you're going to have to replace next season. And obviously that's the job of the coaching staff every year, is to find that next wave. But I think for Penn State, this needs to, and I think within the program it will be, but this needs to be an all-in kind of season, right? Like Penn State has to be thinking that this needs to be the year we make the college football playoffs. And I'm not saying that they have to or it's a failure, but I'm saying within that program, there's too much talent and there's too much. You don't want to waste a P.J. Mustipher to Sean Clifford on a 10-win season. That right? And I'm saying internally, I think that this coaching staff has to be looking at this roster and saying, listen, this is a team that we ought to be able to get to the finish line, and Penn State ought to be competing with the best in the country this season. But again, then you turn around and I look at that offensive line and I'm like, yeah, that's you can contend all you want, but you're not beating top 10 teams until you get an offensive line that, again, it doesn't need to be a dominant offensive line, but it has to be workable. It has to be an upper half of the Big Ten offensive line at the very least, and that just hasn't been the case for a very, very long time.
It's been the absolute nightmare of this program for a long, long time. I mean, I said it again last week, and how hard it is to recruit, and going out, and we have just struck out so much with these guys. And when we do get them here, we are not creating, we're not making them, they're not improving. Last year, if this season goes the way last year did, I would be very, very upset. Again, we have Troutwayne in there right now as the O-line coach. His second year, another year with the offense. I mean, our guys should know what the hell they're doing. Should be able to come off the ball, make a play, make an aggressive play. Like I've always said, if you're going to mess up as an offensive lineman, just do it fast. Just get in somebody's grill. It doesn't matter. Just don't stand there and screw up. It just seems like we're not really coming off the ball at times because we seem very indecisive at times, and I'm very, very frustrated, to be honest with you, as you well know. I'm not telling anything you don't know, but you mentioned it earlier. I mean, to get off the offensive line, I'm very interested to see what Manny Diaz does now.
Yep.
I love watching these little films of him out there running around like crazy man. It's pretty cool. I mean, the guys are going to relate to that, but you also brought up the biggest thing, and that is that, we talk about Clifford being a leader and stuff like that, and then how bad that injury was and how the team went backwards. I still say it was a combination of Clifford and Mustipher going down at the same time in the same game.
Yeah.
Because there's your defensive guy who was going to he was your vocal leader, your leader, and your on-field leader, led by example type of guy.
Yeah.
You lose him in that game. And that defense sort of from that game on just did not have any kind of emotion. They didn't have it. They were just going through the motions out there a little bit. So
destroy it,
I cannot wait. Exactly, right? That's a first-round pick. PJ is going destroying a first-round pick of the Iowa from the center from Iowa, and going down an injury that just knocked us so far out of rhythm as a team defensively, and it just snowballed from there. So, okay. Another thing I want to look for is we will face adversity this year. There will be something that happens that it's like, oh God, here we go. We're at that crossroads right now.
Yeah.
Civil War. When the Union go down to the South and get their asses kicked, they march back up north and recover. Ulysses as Grant takes over. It was a big thing. Said, okay, we're going right back at them. Let's go. We're here. We're going right back at them. That's the thing. You're going to see what kind of guys we have. I want to see where we're at when we see somebody go down with an injury, when we see we're not playing well offensively or defensively. Who can come up, step up, and make a play? Or do we just fall back and just say, okay, I'm not going to say we quit last year, but it looked a lot like it. Our guys didn't play that hard towards the end of the season last year, and that was the disappointing part. So I want to see when we get to that crossroads, because you're going to face adversity, how do we handle it? Can we take that next step and get through it and bust through it and say, okay, we learned our lesson last year? I'm very interested in seeing that.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to how physical you can be, right? Like, I mean, speed kills, and you have to have that, and I think Penn State does have that. But in the Big Ten, and really in college football, you also, again, have to be able to grind it out from time to time. And you can have the best skilled players in the world, but there is going to come a time where you just have to go beat somebody up to get a couple of yards.
4-minute drill is what they call it.
Yep.
You got 4 minutes to go in the game. You get one more timeout. They have to call their timeouts. Excuse me. They need to call their timeouts. You need to get one first down when they know you are running that ball. And if you get that first down, they use all their timeouts, the game is over. You can kneel it out. Get the cigar in your mouth. They need to get to that. Yep. Can they get there? Can they get there to that 4-minute drill? Can they get that first down when they know they're going to run the ball? That is
And again, until they do it, I don't think you can bank on it, right?
Correct.
Like you can't even. And going into the season, I don't know that you would have a whole lot of faith. I don't know that there's any reason to have a whole lot of faith. And again, I'm talking about against the Ohio States and the Michigans. Last year they couldn't even do it against the Minnesotas of the world and the Illinois and you've got to be able to capitalize on the opportunities when they're there. And far too often last season, after that Iowa game, obviously Penn State wasn't able to do that, and they allowed their opponents to do it. And I think the hope is that mentality has changed a bit. I think the stabilization, I'll call it, of the coaches and players on offense and the renewed energy that I think is on the defensive side of the ball, again, I think lends itself to some optimism there. But I just think this is going to be a really fascinating September to see how some things either do or do not come together here for this team and kind of what the feeling is for the program when it makes the turn into October.
We're going to know in 9 days now, my man. Sure. I really just cannot wait for this team to get out there and see what they're going to do. I would hope and pray that the staff and the players want to get last year so far in that rearview mirror.
Yep.
I hope that that's the mentality right now. As last year is over, it's all about being a football player. Football player has to have a short memory. If you have a long memory, you're not going to make it in the football world. So these guys got to forget last year where what happened, where they were, what they were doing, who they lost to, how they didn't play. They just got to go out and do it this year, make it happen.
And listen, there's a lot of things that you talked about the need for Clifford to stay healthy, but also we talk all the time. Football is such a team sport, and it's one side of the ball is doing it helps the other. So there's a couple of other things along with that, right? The running game obviously needs to be established. But the defense also has to create some opportunities, give the offense an opportunity for some short fields from time to time. The special teams, which should be a strength on this team, needs to perform like it's a strength and, pick up those hidden yards for you. I think the return game could be big for Penn State in terms of, again, just shortening that field, getting saving you needing another first down to get into scoring position or to get 6 on the board. All of those things play a role. And the other thing, Goon, and to me it comes down to more of just the mentality right now within this program, because most of these games, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of talent separation between an Iowa and a Wisconsin and a Penn State and even a Minnesota, right? Certainly, Ohio State has more talent than any other roster, but even there, it's not like miles and miles apart from some of these other teams. But when you get to those key moments in the game, right, like, do you make the play? Do you have the guys that will step up, make the stop on defense, get the extra couple of yards you need on offense, connect on the field goal attempt, get the 45, 50-yard punt when you need it. All of those things are – it's not just doing it. It's doing it when you need it to be done, when it's most crucial.
Offense thrives off of defense. Defense thrives off of special teams. And, we can steal a possession, score a touchdown, go out and get a 3-and-out, get a short field for the offense, go up 14 points. You help each other out. Get a big play on defense. Get a big play on offense. Have a long drive. Give your defensive guys a blow on the sideline, this and that. Booch, is Shaq still punting for us? Did he win the job?
I haven't said yet.
You see that kid?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Like 6'9", 250 out there punting.
Tiny little guy. I don't know how he's going to make it.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
We used to have the toe was the little porker kicker we had, right?
Yes.
What's this guy going to be? Holy crap. No, but if we could build off of the momentum we can get, I can build up. Can the offense use Manny Diaz's, positivity and that big play defense that he runs and he wants to have here? We got to take advantage of that. Go out there. Let me just try to think. How can I say this without getting I don't think our guys quit on each other last year because you never saw or heard, and specifically teams that I played on, if we couldn't get a first down and 9 overtimes to score 1-yard touchdowns, some defensive players would have been in our faces, and there would have been a lot of gruff going on in the line. I didn't hear any of that last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the guys just didn't give a crap about anything or anything like that, but the fact that they stood together and stayed together and played, they didn't light the world on fire, but they didn't put it out there publicly. And you got to respect that. How they handled all that, how they handled their business last year. But again, can that carry over to the defense having to carry this team again at times? But the offense has got to make some plays. Defense makes plays. Special teams just football in a nutshell is not a hard game, but it's a hard game. Offense, everybody, they thrive off each other. Some big plays here and there makes all the difference in the world. We win that Iowa game last year. I know Sean was hurt. It took some time off, but the momentum was there. And the balloon lost all the air after that hit and that game, and just never came back. So I hope we get it back. I don't know what happened, but hopefully somebody does, and they remedied it.
Well, we'll start to find out anyway. And
we're 3.5 point favorites, by the way. Came out, we're 3.
Yeah, and that feels about right to me.
Brenton, one of the managers here, he's like, "Oh, what do you feel about that?" I said, "Dude, we're still Penn State. That's still Purdue. I know they're an up-and-coming team, and we're like the ho-hum team right now. No one knows what the hell we're going to be. We're still Penn State. We still have how many top 10 recruiting classes in the last few years, and we have the talent to go out there and get this done. So just put it all together and make it happen."
Turn to the NFL for a moment. Let's talk a little Steelers, Eagles football. The Steelers quarterback situation is fun to talk about, and everybody has their own opinion. At the end of the day, I think Mike Tomlin is going to. There's been a lot of talk and speculation about, all right, let's build for the future, and Mike Tomlin's mentality. He is going to put out whoever he thinks is the quarterback that is going to win this season. The organization may have a different mindset that, they're not going to talk about it. And I don't know that they do or don't. But I'm telling you, Mike Tomlin, that is not a guy that is going to, we'll forgo some wins this season and hope that Kenny Pickett can develop and we'll work with him so that next year can be the year. The guys that have been in that league for any length of time, and Mike Tomlin know that you don't know. You can have that great plan for, a couple of years down the road. Players can get hurt, free agency and injuries, all kinds of things can happen. All of these guys, right? Every team out there is going into the season thinking that you got to make the most of this year and the opportunity that's there. And I still think the Steelers, their offensive line is also obviously the biggest question mark. I think even a bigger question mark than who the starter will be at quarterback, because it's the same thing. They've got to get that offensive line shored up before they can do anything else. But everything else, I think, is largely there. The defense should be very, very good. And the wide receiving core is still a great receiving core. And, Najee Harris is a terrific running back. And tight end with Fryer. I mean, it is going to come down to the offensive line, and can it make significant progress and improvement from a year ago? And then, yes, can you get steady enough, consistent enough play from whoever the quarterback is? And I don't think they're going into this with the idea of
they're not playing for next year.
No,
they're not setting up next year. They're
and I don't even think they're trying to set up for this year. I think Mike Tomlin's just trying to go out and win week one, and whichever quarterback he thinks that week will give him the best opportunity. And again, it may very well be that, yep, Trubisky is it for the first month, and then it's clear that Pickett is now ready. I mean, that very well could be what happens. But I don't think it's the mentality is anything other than let's get the quarterback who's looking the best in practice or who we feel best about, giving us a chance to win and getting him out there. And, I will say Pickett has been – there were a lot of fans very high on the Steelers' pick of Pickett, and there were some fans that were very down on it. I was very neutral on it. I was fine with it.
You're a hand-sized guy.
No problem. But, yeah. But I really didn't – and quarterback to me is still at the NFL level. I thought Pickett looked good his senior year at Pitt. I thought he showed good development, but there have been a lot of guys that have shown that don't. And I'm also still not ready to say that, yes, now we know Kenny Pickett is going to be a successful NFL quarterback. But I will say he has looked better than I was anticipating out of the gate, and really just with his comfort level. And it's one of those things, Goon, that sometimes it's just hard to put a finger on. And you can have guys that just don't look like they're going to be good NFL quarterbacks that rookie year, and they do eventually figure it out and they become solid. But very rarely do you have a guy that comes out and looks like the part and then just bombs, right? Like that rarely happens. And this guy looks the part. He just looks comfortable. He looks confident. Trubisky's looked good as well, so it's not as though
they both look fine.
So I think that the Steelers are fine there. It's whether one of them can, kind of elevate his game, and obviously you're hoping, if you're a Steelers fan, that it is Pickett that does that, because there's a lot, more left in his tank here as far as playing football over the course of what you're hoping is a long career. But
you couldn't be more right with the offensive line play. With the receivers they have on the outside, Claypool and Freiermuth on the inside, I mean, give me the four defensive backs covering those four. And the linebackers covering Claypool or Freiermuth. Pick your poison, man. Who do you want?
Well,
I mean, that's going to be amazing. And then if their offensive line can take care of, protect them, they're going to make plays. And then you have Najee Harris in the backfield. Najee Davenport, yeah. Oh, man. But they're loaded. I mean, you've been touting a defense for 3 years that's a Super Bowl winning defense out there.
Yeah.
You've been touting that, and they have not had the offense. I mean, as an outsider, did Roethlisberger hang on too long, maybe? Well, I don't know.
I mean, the issue was, I mean, you could argue that, but it was, I mean, Mason Rudolph, to go back to my earlier point, again, I think he's a very serviceable backup, and I'm not one of the people that is going to bang on Mason Rudolph. But when you watch him back there, that you don't get the feeling that, yep, that's a guy that could be an all-pro quarterback, right? Like, I mean, I think he's a guy that can get you through, a couple of weeks if need be, and
a couple third quarters in preseason.
And again, I think is a serviceable quarterback, but he does not. It doesn't feel like that's a guy that should be a starter in the NFL. And Pickett, very early, and again, I'm not ready to put him in the Hall of Fame or anything yet, or even anoint him as a long-term
Pittsburgh
starter.
people would never do that.
But, man, I'm telling you, he does. He just has a look about him. and I think it is
You said
very,
the right
very
word.
encouraging.
You said the right word. He looks comfortable out there. He's in an environment right now where nothing much has really changed for him. He's in the same city he's been in for the last 5 years and playing in the same stadium he played for the last 5 years, practicing at the same place. He's got a lot more talented guys that he's throwing the ball to.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better for him, and for your team also. I mean, I don't want to give you any credit, but I mean, they don't take years off. They don't have any rebuild. They never do that. They don't do rebuild in Pittsburgh. And that's one of those things I can't let my Pittsburgh friends know that, but you have to respect that about the organization. Well, they're very, very good in how they're run, and they stick to their values and stick to their ways, and they stay to them. And it's very impressive. And you wish more teams would be like that, but it's tough. It's tough in this world because it's such a show me, give me, now world we live in. And Pittsburgh's never really been like that. They've never changed their values of how they've run their program for years.
Well, and I do think that AFC North is just going to be an interesting watch this year. I mean, I don't think and who knows, maybe this will be the year the Browns end up in the Super Bowl. I don't think the Browns are going to be a contender this year, but can the Steelers keep pace or even stay close within striking distance, going into December with the Ravens and the Bengals? And I don't know. I mean, I don't rule it out. I don't necessarily expect it because I do think that the Ravens, if they're healthy, are just a rock-solid team. Yeah, staying healthy is.
And it'll be Burrow's. It will be Burrow's issue for a long time too, is staying healthy.
Yeah,
I think you got to give the hat tip right there to possibly Pittsburgh being there, having the two quarterbacks if something does happen, do a good defense. I mean, that's how you win those divisions. And then I don't think Cleveland's not going to be. And I don't think they're going to be a player in this at all. They're in such disarray. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see how the players could have faith in the organization at the moment. I mean, that can change over time, but I just
again, my in-laws.
So many things were mismanaged here.
My in-laws are Bills and our Browns fans. Even they are like they're like sort of mad, like how they treated Baker Mayfield was so undeserving of how they just everybody in their whole organization and city turned on him after he did the only thing that nobody has done in 25 years.
Yeah, I will say there are a lot of really interesting storylines in the NFL this year, but up near the top for me is watching what Baker Mayfield does with Carolina. And obviously, I love Matt Rule, and I'm hoping big things happen for them down there. But when you get a quarterback, and Baker Mayfield is talented. I don't know whether I don't know where I put him on the quarterback pantheon, but the dude is a talented guy, and he knows what he's doing. And now you have a big-time chip on his shoulder. Right, that is a great. I mean, Matt Rule has to be loving.
Sure.
I think it's a big part of why he's been named the starter. I think Rule knows that there is zero doubt that you are going to get the best version of Baker Mayfield that he can possibly give you this season, right? And I'm not, he may do that every year, but that is going to be an extra dialed-in guy out to prove to the world, and especially Cleveland, that he belongs.
Oh, it's going to be awesome
up there with the best quarterbacks in the world.
Have you thought about the Baker Mayfield situation? Like my in-law said, my mother-in-law said they're going to pay 80% of his salary to kick the Browns' ass. The Browns are paying 75% of Baker Mayfield's contract next year.
Yep.
The Browns are paying Baker Mayfield to go in there and whoop their ass the opening game of the season. That is hilarious to me. And that is one of the most Brown things of all time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're watching the Birds finish them off right here. Birds actually look pretty good. From what I saw, I watched the first series. I'm in the Phillies mode right now. But I watched the Birds game on Sunday, the first quarter. And I got to say, man, they played pretty damn well. They came off the ball. And it was their second team offensive line, and they looked very, very, very good.
Well, I do think the NFC East is one of the more intriguing divisions this year as well, because you have the ongoing soap opera that is the Dallas Cowboys. And obviously, they have some
you're right. They've been
very talented individuals, but like, it wouldn't be shocking to me to see the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. It wouldn't be shocking to me to see the Cowboys not make the playoffs. Like, I mean, I'm not expecting either to happen. I'm expecting that there'll be like a wild card team in the playoffs.
0-6
game and out. But I can see a lot going wrong real quickly and real easily for that Cowboys team this season. And listen, I think all three of the other teams are improved, right? Like, I think the Redskins are a legit contender. I think the Giants are poised to at least make a big step forward. And, I'm not sure that the Eagles aren't the rightful favorites to take the division going into the season with the way this thing is coming together right now.
Anybody know? As much as we say Penn State's based on the offensive line, I mean, the Eagles are going to run all the Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
They're running back by committee. They've created that whole thing, which is fantastic in my opinion. But Jalen Hurts is the guy who's going to make it or break it, because you've given him the weapons that he didn't have anything the last couple of years, and now you're giving him like legit 1A type starters. And then the hell of a tight end in Goddard, and we're going to see what they can do. We are really going to see it, and their defense has got to improve, but they could build off the offense, and the offense can, they could make some plays off of that offense defensively. I'm okay with where they're at right now. I really, really am. I mean, we say that the Steelers don't do rebuilds. The Eagles had to rebuild after that Super Bowl. That's just the way it was set up, and I think that they're back to the point where they can make a run at this thing again. I really do. I think that Hurts is the guy. And then, then you got your boy, Pooch, our backup quarterback. The hippie, Gardner Minshew. He's hilarious. Minshew Mania. Living in a van down by the river behind the Eagles facility. He had like a 70s like free candy, like hippie, like the one with like Reno Hightower was driving, and he's a van painter. He has the Michelangelo painting on the side of a van. He's living in that. He doesn't have a house or an apartment in Philadelphia. He lives in a van. God bless him. God bless him. So there was somebody online made some crazy idea that Kareem Hunt doesn't want to play for the Browns no more. So somebody was saying Kareem Hunt for Gardner Minshew and a second round pick. Eagles would get Kareem Hunt and a second round pick. I'm like, geez, I would trade Minshew for a second round pick. That's just my opinion. I mean, those things, the Eagles do pretty well with them. So,
That's true.
It's the first round pick, so he constantly he overthinks it. But I'm okay with where the Eagles are at right now. I really, really am, and I am looking forward to just a good football Sunday. Yeah, nothing like it. Nice Penn State Saturday afternoon, first weekend. Nice hangover, wake up, crisp in the air, get a cup of coffee, and watch some football for 9 hours. There's nothing better in the whole world than Ironhead.
Life is good.
Yes, it is, buddy. So, looking forward to it. I can't say I can't believe it's here already, because it was about 3 months ago, and I was like, Jesus, we're still 3 months away. But it doesn't feel like football starts next Thursday. It just doesn't feel like it. I haven't had that wake up like, okay, all right, it's football season.
Yeah.
It's just been a weird – there's just so much going on in this world right now, I guess, that hasn't really kicked in. But it'll be a day when I take the dogs out in the morning and there's like a crispness in the air, and it smells like fall football, and I can't wait. Cannot wait for it, buddy.
Yeah, high school gets underway this Friday, which is just –
You calling the games, right? For State High?
Yeah, I'll be doing the PA for the State High games, which is a whole lot of fun.
So you call them the Little Lions?
Yes.
Do you? I would hate that if I was a player personally. They started calling us the Little Explorers back then. I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of that. But, hey, it's what it is.
And as always, do enjoy watching the Little League World Series as well.
Yeah. Well, I said they're taking out. They took out Massachusetts Saturday. New York went out yesterday.
Holidaysburg we're talking about. Yep.
In Pennsylvania, the Holidaysburg team, and they're taking out. They're up 3-0 in the bottom of the second on Indiana. So, well, anybody who ever crossed Goon is getting taken out by this Holidaysburg team. So I'm pretty appreciative of that. You know, we got Colts fans out there. And the New York people just get rid of them completely, and Massachusetts, Massachusetts. No, but it's been fun. You been watching the games at all?
I have not as much as I'd like, but yes, I've been checking in here.
Just cool, dude. It's just a really, really the fact that if anybody doesn't know, Holidaysburg's 40 minutes from here, on the other side of Altoona. And how small is Holidaysburg, Jeff?
Not a big city.
Just
no. It's been neat to see.
Yeah, because you don't see it. You know what I mean? You usually see the bigger all-star teams and this and that, and this is just from a local team in Holidaysburg. I find it fascinating, and they're playing so well. They are standing up, and they're playing great.
Yeah, they've been very, very steady throughout, and really good in all phases of the game. I think had very good pitching, great defense, and obviously some very good and very timely hitting.
You think probably. Interstate 80 gas station's been pretty happy with the travel every day back and forth from Holidaysburg to Williamsport up on Interstate 80 all day. Yeah. All these people going down there. But there was a day to do this. We should have gone down today. I'm embarrassed, Jeff. I've told you this for 3 years now. I'm embarrassed that I've never. You never went either?
No.
Oh, jeez.
Never been.
Never went.
It's still on the bucket list. It's been there pretty much all my life. It's still there.
40 miles away. It's not like we're going to Coachella out in California. There, we're not going to Australia. We're going to go to Williamsport, Pennsylvania for a Little League World Series game.
We'll talk a little bit more about Penn State, Purdue, and the matchup. We will be just 1 week away from the season opener when we get together with you again on Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Woo!